2018 when I visited a seaside town and borough in East Sussex on the south coast of England. It is 85 kilometers southeast of London. The town gives its name to the Battle of Hastings, which took place in the northwest at Senlac Hill in 1066. The place is historical, and to this day you can still see the remnants of the medieval period. In the 19th century, it was a popular seaside resort, as the railway allowed tourists and visitors to reach the town of Hastings. Today, Hastings is a tourist destination and a fishing port. The first mention of the word Hastings found in the late 8th century in the form Hastingas. This is derived from the Old English tribal name Hastingas, meaning the followers of Hesta, the people of the Hastings tribe. The place is old, as evidence of prehistoric settlements have been found at the town site, like for example the flint arrowheads, and Bronze Age artifacts have been found. Iron Age forts have been excavated on both the east and west hills. This suggests that the inhabitants moved early to the safety of the valley in between the forts. The settlement was already based on the port when the foreign authorities Romans arrived in Britain for the first time. At this time, they already know iron and ore. Iron was worked locally at Beauport Park, to the north of the town. With the discovery of the importance of iron, it employed a lot of people to work in it, as it is considered to have been the third largest mine in the Roman Empire. With the Romans left the area, the town suffered setbacks because the site was abandoned, and the town suffered from many problems from nature and even man-made attacks. The coast has always suffered from occasional nature's violent storms. The Kingdom of Hastings. From the 6th century AD until 771, the people of the area around modern-day Hastings identified the territory as that of the Hastingas tribe and a kingdom separate from the surrounding kingdoms of South Saxons. It worked to retain its separate cultural identity until the 11th century. The kingdom was probably a sub-kingdom, the object of a disputed overlordship by the two powerful neighboring kingdoms. The start of the Norman conquest was the Battle of Hastings, fought on October 14, 1066, although the battle itself took place 8 miles to the north at Senlac Hill, and William had landed on the coast between Hastings and Eastbourne at Pevensey. It is thought that the Norman encampment was on the town's outskirts, where there was open ground. A new town was already being built in the valley to the east. In the Middle Ages, Hastings became one of the Cinque Ports, Sandwich, Dover, and New Romney being the first. Hastings and Hythe followed, all finally being joined by Rye and Winchelsea. At one point 42 towns were directly or indirectly affiliated with the group. In the 13th century, much of the town and half of Hastings Castle was washed away in the South England flood of February 1287. During a naval campaign of 1339, and again in 1377, the town was raided and burnt by the French, and seems then to have gone into a decline. As a port, Hastings' days were finished. Hastings had suffered over the years from the lack of a natural harbor, and there have been attempts to create a sheltered harbor. Attempts were made to build a stone harbor during the reign of Elizabeth I, but the foundations were destroyed by the sea in terrible storms. The fishing boats are still stored on and launched from the beach. Hastings was then just a small fishing settlement, but it was soon discovered that the new taxes on luxury goods could be made profitable by smuggling. The town was ideally located for that purpose. Near the castle ruins, on the West Hill, are St. Clements caves, partly natural, but mainly excavated by hand by smugglers from the soft sandstone. Their trade was to come to an end with the period following the Napoleonic Wars, for the town became one of the most fashionable resorts in Britain, brought about by the so-called health-giving properties of seawater, as well as the local springs and Roman baths. Once this came about, the expansion of the town took place, to the west, since there was little space left in the valley. The double-decker promenade that runs from Hastings Pier beyond Marine Court with a break at Warrior Square, was built in the 1930s by the borough engineer Sidney Little. It was at this time that the elegant Pelham Crescent and Wellington Square were built. Other building followed. In the Crescent is the classical-style Church of St. Mary in the castle, now in use as an arts centre. The building of the Crescent and the church necessitated further cutting away of the Castle Hill cliffs. Once that move away from the old town had begun, it led to the further expansion along the coast, eventually linking up with the new St. Leonard's. In the 1930s, the town underwent some rejuvenation. Seaside resorts were starting to go out of fashion, Hastings perhaps more than most. The town council set about a huge rebuilding project, among which the promenade was rebuilt, and an Olympic-size bathing pool was erected. The latter, regarded in its day as one of the best open-air swimming and diving complexes in Europe, later became a holiday camp before closing in 1986. Hastings Town Hall. By a charter of Elizabeth I in 1589, the bailiff was replaced by a mayor, by which time the town's importance was dwindling. In the Georgian era, patronage of such seaside places gave it a new lease of life, so that, when the time came with the reform of English local government in 1888, Hastings became a county borough, responsible for all its local services, independent of the surrounding county, then Sussex, East. Less than 100 years later, in 1974, that status was abolished. If given a chance to visit the place again in the future, I will stay probably much longer to experience the life and culture of the people.